the lengths people go through to ensure media literacy is accessible is so impressive. Today, we are going to put a spotlight on Shamsudeen Abdulrazak. As usual, we've been doing this series where we've been putting the spotlight on fellows who partook in Witnesses Fortifying Community Truth projects. And today, we share Shamsudeen's story. Welcome back to the factory. Shamsudeen is a social entrepreneur and the executive director of Glowing Minds Initiative for Human Development, a nonprofit dedicated to reducing unemployment and improving employability among young people, with a team passionate about making a positive impact on employability, climate change, gender inclusion, and civic engagement. Today, he talks community verification with us. Thank you for joining us, Shamsudeen.
Thank you very much for having me.
What are the biggest challenges, misinformation challenges communities face, especially with what you're familiar with, communities that predominantly speak Hausa?
So one of the biggest misinformation challenges we've had actually faced while working on the field is the fact that majority of the local communities we work with, they find it hard to be able to differentiate which information is right and wrong. Um, so the moment they see something, especially from social media or possibly, um, yes, people they believe are celebrities or possibly political office holders, they tend to believe in it. That's one of the misinformation challenges we've had. So we had to now possibly start reorienting them on not to believe anything they see on social media and try as much as possible. We now started giving them cues that if you see this, these are the things that actually lead to ethno-religious crisis. These are the things that actually cause political unrest. When you see such kind of languages being used by some certain persons, these are divisive terms that actually makes it that stirs up crisis within the communities, because we've had that over time here in Nigeria, and those are one of the biggest challenges. So when we started working with them, we now discover that so their own challenge is they're willing to just share it immediately. The moment they just see something, they are willing to share. So we had to tell them to first of all wait, try to do a 2-step or 3-step verification before they share. And the mainstream media also now comes to play as still one of the most authoritative place to get news, because they have like editors and also the media crew members who will give first-hand information, not just some bloggers online who just create information and are able to just send immediately. So that's what we've been able to notice as a challenge, and how we tend to we are currently solving that particular challenge.
How do you tailor fact checking methods to make them accessible to such communities?
One of the things we've been able to look at is to look at what kind of media is accessible to them. So one is we look at the traditional rulers. They are actually very, very close to the community. The religious leaders, they are also very close to the community. So they have access to the people. So they have a large congregation that possibly meets every Sundays or every Fridays to talk to their congregation. So the first thing we did was to train the traditional rulers, the community leaders, on how to identify fake news, disinformation, and misinformation. Once they've identified them, then how to tackle it. And again, how they can also help to solve it by reorienting their population, that is their congregation rather. So when we did that, the second phase of what we've been able to do is we look at radio. Radio seems to be one of the most powerful tool that is accessible to the local communities. With a single radio, you can reach millions of people. So we adopted radio as a means of communication to reach a wider audience. So having noted that, we now discover that language can actually be a barrier. Uh, and we now discover that the best way we can actually pass this information is by speaking the local dialects. So the radio programs are now in local dialects so that the communities and people who actually need it, if you can't speak English, you can't speak Pidgin, but your local dialect, Hausa, Gbagi, Nupe, for communities we're working with, they can easily understand. And that's how we're able to tailor those messaging in the local dialects so that the communities we're working with can easily understand what it means what it means for something to be a fake news, and how they themselves, they can actually avoid it and also be champions of media and information literacy.
What role do traditional leaders and community influencers play in verifying information at the grassroots level?
Yeah, so for the traditional rulers and the community leaders, what we've been able to do with them is we've had a first meeting with them to see, how to first of all, like I said, orient them on how to identify. Then the next one is how to possibly um, not only identify, how to detect and also fight it. So one of the major things that we've been able to do with the traditional rulers, for the communities we work with, it's an emirate council that have other sub traditional title holders within, and they have like their own messaging system, like a structure that they have, that once you pass one information to maybe the emir of that particular community, they are able to trickle it down to all the other traditional rulers that are within the domain. So for the religious leaders, we've been able to also orient them, and also using some verses of the Quran and also the other holy books to be able to orient them to say, okay, fine, look at misinformation is even identified in the book you are actually using to preach to your congregation. So there is they have their meetings with their congregations every Fridays, so they are able to communicate back to them. So ours now is we are still going back to them to now assess how far does that actually change for them. So we're still going to be bringing them back to the community. And one other thing I also have not even added is the fact that we had also worked with journalists, because these are the people, these are the media gatekeepers. So these are the people that also generate the news themselves. How do you as a journalist also not spread misinformation or fake news? So we've been also equipped. So what we did with journalists was to equip them with OSINT, that is open source tools that they can easily use to be able to fact check and verify information, and some AI bots, and also tools like Google reverse image search to be able to do verification on their own part also before they also tend to spread or misinform people. So we look at different demography of the community gatekeepers, and we've been able to tailor the right information or the right approach to them so that they can easily fight it in their own domain.
Have you noticed any misinformation trend, especially in Hausa speaking communities?
One of the major pattern we've noticed is for starting with the political class, once they want to possibly misinform people about maybe to possibly lie or possibly cause ethno-religious crisis. So they tend to spread some political propaganda against somebody. For example, when you come into the electioneering period, you start seeing different form of misinformation flying about an individual or about an ethnic group, and it will have religious and ethnic coloration. So, and what we've been able to do is we try to trickle down the information to like what is the baseline. So when it comes to when a news comes to you, when it's somebody is coming to pass an information to you, how do you possibly know that this particular information is right or this particular information is wrong? So, and once you've been able to do that, what is expected of you to do? So you've noticed, and you've also been able to discover that, okay, this is not the truth, this is the truth. The next thing for you to do is to now what? Inform people, use the available media that you have to possibly share it with them. So for those that have access to technological devices like smartphones and all that, so we encourage them on how they can actually use it to possibly share it across board. But we discover that, yes, there are still quite a number of people that still have analog device to make calls. So, and one of the most potent tools that we've seen work with them is number one, radio, and number two, the speaking to them in the local dialects. So this one, we've seen that it's a very, very smart way. And we feel that when it is being scaled, it becomes much easier to be able to reach more audience. So, and we also started seeing that, okay, one other demography that we still need to touch is the secondary school. We did now, more than ever now, media and information literacy is now supposed to be like a fundamental human right, just like education. So students in secondary schools or anybody, irrespective of the age or demography, should be able to have a certain literacy when it comes to media and information. And that way, we are able to fight misinformation to its fullest. We might not be able to defeat it totally, but then at least people will be well guarded when they see information and how they can easily verify such information.
Thank you so much, Shamsudeen, for speaking with us all the way from Nigeria. And you doing the watching, thanks as well. This is Powered by Witness. My name is Echo. Now over to you, perhaps in your own community, to start something great.